Next one is Keep Our Assets Canterbury, Stephen Howard, page 1079.
E tarangi, e papatona ku, e te whare e tūtono nei, e te ropu kaupakahari o ato tahi I oku hoa e hui mai nei I tēnei rā ki tuko I ngā taki o te kaupakahari, tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora.
E hara tuko toa takatahi, engari he toa takatini. To the council, everybody, greetings, and I hope we succeed in developing a good annual plan. The whakatauki expresses the strength that a group has when it works together rather than as single individuals, and I think that's a very important concept when it comes to a city. We represent Canterbury, which is a group of various parties, organisations and individuals who support the retention of those assets left in public or collective ownership. You may have noticed us at council meetings at some time quietly and respectfully holding our stance. The failing and failed neoliberal policy of throwing away all collectively owned and controlled assets still has some adherents, but they're quickly falling away in the face of the obvious failure to deliver the claimed benefits or strengthen the resilience to face a future that may hold many uncertainties. Our greatest asset is our democracy, and neoliberalism is simply an attack on democracy. I think that this is the first time I've spoken to you since the local body election, so I congratulate you all on your success in persuading the people of Christchurch that you're the best fit to be kaupakahari. I remember sitting in the cardboard cathedral during the campaign and hearing Leanne clearly say, "Read my lips, then commit to holding those assets that we have been campaigning to retain." So congratulations to the council for supporting Leanne and meeting, at least in part, that pledge to keep assets. Congratulations.
I didn't say that.
Yeah. Were you there?
No.
I was there, yes.
We're also pleased that Leanne has committed to renegotiating the cost share agreement in a transparent way. There are two elephants in the room with planning in Christchurch, and I'm not just simply referring to Jerry Brownlee there. The two are the cost share agreement and its restrictions on effective local democracy, and of course the coastal inundation threat on our eastern suburbs. Onto our main concerns. City care should be immediately restored to the strategic asset list. Our preference is for city care to be brought back into in-house in council as a works department, with the non-Greater Christchurch sectors of its Empire building placed in CCHL or another LBTA until the people can be consulted on possible use. One of the few sensible things in the Cameron report was the stated need to ensure the council-owned assets align with the interests of the people of Christchurch. The best method of doing this is a works department. We don't need Delta, Filter and Hogan, taking profits from the work that should be done by a works department. It was quite interesting listening to that previous lady showing you where Delta and some of those other contractors are failing. During the campaign, Leanne said that public transport should be under the control of the council. We completely agree. So Redbrush should also be returned to the strategic asset list. We're concerned that the tendering process for services and PPPs results in a guaranteed flow of interest and flow of profits to a company, and a reduction of service to the people. Dunedin City Bus was a very good example. We support pedestrian and cycle use of the public roads. The people of Christchurch own the roads, not the local businesses or property owners. There are good examples overseas of cities that have decided to prioritise cycling and walking to complement public transport. We also encourage further work on the public rail passenger service from Amberley, Ricard, Darfield and Littleton. Investment in public rail is a much better option than the large spend on roading, such as the Northern Expressway. You said, I'm aware that that is a transit issue, but it's all public money going into a dying technology, basically. The council should include provision for the immediate implementation of a living wage for all the people employed, either directly or indirectly, to do council work, along with secure hours of work where possible. In the face of the crisis of for low-income tenants and families, the council needs to immediately increase the number of council housing units to the number available at the time of the September earthquake, and preferably more. Land transfers to the Development Christchurch Limited as a subsidiary of CHL. The council has recently called for submissions on the land transport to DCL. One is curious as to what effect this has on that draft plan, and also how much more land it is proposing to transfer, and how it intends to see that development is actually achieved, rather than land just being land banked. In the light of these questions, a consideration of a rate on underdeveloped urban land to encourage action, rather than just land holding by speculators, would be very useful. Thank you for listening and hopefully considering what we've had to say.
Thank you. Just a question. If City Care was to be taken back into council as a works department, what would happen to all their employees who work in contracts that they've won in Auckland and Wellington?
Well, that's why I said the non-Greater Christchurch work should be placed in a separate unit and consultation with the people of Christchurch as to what to do with that.
Yeah, but the company that
the
would
company
then
can be split. Companies are split all the time. Merged and demerged and
so you wouldn't oppose us selling the parts of City Care that have contracts in other
we
cities?
are more concerned with the public assets with Christchurch. What the people of Christchurch would say in a consultation process about the rest of it, I don't know. So we're agnostic about that to a certain extent. In general, we'd prefer to see public ownership of most things.
Yes, but Christchurch receives the benefit of the
yes, it does, and Delta's receiving benefit
of the whole company. But you're suggesting that we would divide the company and then consult on selling the component that has contracts in Auckland and Wellington.
Not selling, but what to do with those other components. Delta's taking profits out of Christchurch for the Dunedin City Council.
Well, Christchurch is taking profits out of Auckland.
Yeah, I realise that.
And Wellington.
And I think we need to consult to find out what people would think about that.
We've never waved a flag for the whole empire building of City Care, the fact that it has contracts in Hamilton, etc., and we certainly do not wave any flag
I don't think it's empire building, I think it's survival.
We certainly don't wave a flag for the CEO of City Care getting $600,000 a year or whatever he gets, and that will find no support from us for that. That it started off as a simple, good old Christchurch City Council Works Department. That's what we say the city needs, not this other corporate stuff. We realise that is following a model imposed from central government.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, yeah, exactly. But nonetheless, we say that Christchurch has made a stand before in opposition to the dictates of central government, hence the whole much maligned phrase, the People's Republic of Christchurch, for example, and that so we don't wave any flags for them sort of empire building all around the country or aggrandising huge bloody salaries for their
I think the interesting point is that the reason it was established was because you actually couldn't get NZTA funding for transit funding in the day, but NZTA funding today for not putting your roadworks out for contract. So if we stopped having a contracting company of our own, we would get no contracts for any of our roadworks because we wouldn't get funding from NZTA. Yes, would we really put at risk 40% or 50% of the funding that we would get for our roads?
I think we've got to compare that risk, Leanne, with the risk to our democracy when local work isn't controlled and developed and run in the interest of the local people, with a local democracy backing it. And yes, that's why I mentioned neoliberalism. We're aware that neoliberalism uses all sorts of dirty tricks to bend people's smaller councils' arms up their backs to achieve a market structure that is failing.
Yeah, but that may well be the case. But are you saying that it would be better for us to, I'm
saying that's our preference.
Stand against the tide and to take City Care back in as a department of Christchurch and not get any funding from NZTA for road contracts?
I'm saying that's our preference.
Right. Okay, no, that's good.
It might be better to challenge the central government on forcing neoliberal ideals on us in the future at some stage, in which case a City Care Works would be much better.
You guys will get a chance to do that later in the year.
We'd also note with concern the proposal for the council to give away the Milton Street depot of City Care to DCL, because we think that makes that much harder for any City Care to ever come back as a works department.
Oh, City Care has another site and it actually suits them. They would continue to
I've read
lease
the document, and the document says they've expressed an intention to move, but that's all rather vague.
Yeah.
And once Milton Street's gone,
No, that they are perfectly happy with the proposal. That's out for a separate consultation. Are there any other questions? Sorry?
Sorry?
Well, look,
I'd like to say something to Dion about
You certainly
cycleways. Canterbury University has a very good unit investigating cycleways, and the cities I would look at about cycleways are places like Copenhagen, which has a policy of allowing roads to deteriorate while they do up the cycleways and footpaths, and then that gets people out of cars because it's so much more pleasant to ride a cycle. Oh, yeah, you have to be brave.
very good. Well, look, thank you very much for your time and consideration. It's much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.